Dr. Ruth Anderson and Sue Broome here for messages from your loved ones. We're so glad to have you with us today. And today, what Sue and I are doing is what we do for every messages from your loved ones. And that's as you send us the name of somebody that you have loved and lost and would like to hear from, Sue will use the cards that she created to receive a message from your loved one, and then she and I will just sit in that energy for a little while and see what messages we receive. So we're so glad to have you here with us. Sue Broome, thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for hosting this. This is a beautiful time for people.
My pleasure, always. Well, and one of the things that we do while we're waiting for folks to join in with us is we just have conversations about passing on, transitioning, the beforehand, the afterhand, just whatever is coming to mind for us today. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about was that space when you know or suspect that you are going to be transitioning, and what an interesting, rich time that is. Sue, do you want to share your thoughts on that?
Based on just what we were chatting about beforehand, when you get to a point, so whether you're the person that is passing, and I think it is twofold, the person that is passing and the loved ones around them, there is a level of acceptance that comes. And I think once the acceptance comes, that either there's nothing more I can do, or I'm ready. I've done everything that I'm going to do. The struggle is gone. I don't have to try to do that, or the trying to please other people. That's also gone. So there's an acceptance, there's the release of the struggle. And I almost have equated it to different people as you're going with the current now versus fighting against the current. It's like, yep, all right, I'm in my process, whatever that process is, because you've gotten to a point where you're okay with what tomorrow is going to bring.
Well, and sometimes that fight looks like, Mom, you need to eat and keep up your strength. Or, Dad, you need to keep your PT appointment. Or, oh, you need to take your medication. That's really important. Yeah.
Yes, all of those things, and especially the eating thing, because, and even just, okay, if they're going to take a couple bites and that's all they want, great. They want ice cream instead of whatever else they're supposed to, like, okay. There's all of that. It's kind of like, if you're on a diet and you can only have these things, and now the 30 days is over, it's like, yay, I can eat this. It's like, yay, there's no more struggle. But yeah, eating is really a big thing, because eating is in so many cultures as the connection that people have.
Mhm. Well, and it makes us feel better to watch our loved one eat something, because to us that looks kind of normal. And it's like, oh, he can't be dying. He just ate breakfast. And I'd say that's not actually accurate. My father ate 3 meals the day he died. So it wasn't as much food as normal, but he didn't miss a meal.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they don't eat. I mean, I would say that is a smaller percentage of people that are continuing to eat right up until the day they pass. But it's not, I mean, I have a friend that is on hospice, and I'm pretty sure she's eating every meal. And I'm pretty sure you know what? You like to eat.
Well, it's a comfort for a lot of folks to eat themselves. So that makes sense.
do you think that helps keep them present?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a nurturing activity to eat, you know?
Especially if it's like pudding or mashed potatoes.
Right. Something soft.
Something soft,
Yeah.
something yummy.
Right. Hopefully, something that tastes good. Yeah. Well, you know what? That is so interesting because my friend Linda Dirks, who Sue knew as well, her parents at different times were both dealing with cancer and they decided, I'm done, I'm out. And they told her, I'm just going to stop eating and drinking. I'm doing this on my own. I'm planning this. This is what I want to do. And she watched both of them take themselves out in that way. And there was an acceptance on her part. This is your choice. I love you. I'm going to support you
Mhm.
in how you're wanting to have power and control in your own life. So I think that food thing can go several ways.
Well, and the words that you just said is, I'm going to support you. Boy, do I want everybody to hear that. And I know that this is something that you have brought up multiple times. The years that we've been doing this, because that's truly what it is. I'm supporting you in whatever you want because it is your journey. So I love you enough and I'm just going to be here to support you. It's so important. And that in and of itself, there is a big level of acceptance with that as well, because it's like, okay, this is what Ruth wants. I want to make sure that Ruth gets what she needs right now. I'm just here to support her.
Regardless of how it feels in my heart to watch you do that. Yeah.
Right? As much as you'd like to say, eat your damn pudding.
Yeah. Yeah. It is hard when you love someone and you know what their end game is. Someone that I love very dearly has said, when my husband dies, which, you know, who knows when that's going to be, but when my husband dies, I will be going soon thereafter. And she's got the means to do that. And I believe she has zero intention of being here without him. And so then, you know, because I adore her, then I go, okay. Okay. It doesn't mean I'm going to pull the trigger for her. I would never do that. But it means I'm going to love her on her way out.
Right. Well, and okay, so now another perspective is say that you are in a situation where your husband, and I'm gonna use husband and wife just because it's more usually, it's usually this way, where say that my husband is 20 years older than me
Yeah.
and very ill, and the huge property that we have is going to be way too much for me to take care of.
Right.
So let both of us, let me ask him to help prepare me for maybe the house that I'm gonna buy or where I'm gonna live after this and be a part of that process. You know, buying a house or fixing up a house or, you know, thinning out some of the stuff that is in your combined possession now and being a part of that process. Whereas like, wow, that's really bizarre, but it also might give the husband might feel like I'm supporting my wife and I can be a part of it
Right.
And I know that she'll be it taken care of before I get the heck out of Dodge.
Well, that's a really important point. If you look at what you need to do to prepare for your own transition so you don't leave your loved ones in a freaking mess as they have to try to figure out where are the bank accounts and who's on this one and who's on that one and what life insurance policies and who gets the jewelry and whatever. Take control over what you can control now. Yeah. Somehow I think we're realists and we go, I know I'm not getting out of this alive. But then there's the other part of us that goes, oh, I don't need to worry about that now. I don't have to, life insurance, I don't have to do that stuff now because I'm only, 65. I've got lots of years left. Well, you don't necessarily know that you've got lots of years left. And who knows if in a couple of years you're even going to be lucid enough to do those things. So, we just never really know. So control what you can control. It's one of my mantras in life, actually.
Yeah, even though control is a misnomer.
Well, it is. Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I received a beautiful phone call. It was, I don't know, a year and a couple of months ago. It was the sister of my dear friend Sylvia. Well, Sue has heard the story of Sylvia ever since she met me, but her sister in Hawaii called and said, I've got Sylvia's wedding ring. And you are the only person I can think of that would truly appreciate it. Can I send it to you? So, of course, I was so touched because, Sylvia had died 10 some years ago. And so to be thought of at this late stage was just such a beautiful blessing. But just thinking, you've got control of that now. Make that list now of those special things that you want to make sure that loved ones actually get to enjoy. Yeah, because it made a world of difference to me, just out of the blue.
Yeah. And so many people don't think of any of that. I only have one thing that I do have a post-it on the back. So
You do? Okay.
this too, because I told her, I said, when I die, you can have this painting. It's like, I don't know where you're going to be, but that's not my problem. So.
Right. My mom went around her house and asked us 4 kids, do you want this? Do you want this? And so our names were on the backs of, the stuff that at that point in time we seemed to care about. I don't know. I don't know that we care about that now, but at the time. But I think that was important for her to know that she had controlled what she could, to see that folks' feelings weren't hurt after the fact.
Well, and stuff is so interesting because you might look at it and go, oh my gosh, there's so many memories that come back with this, and it just takes me back. And your sibling is going to look at it and it's like, that old piece of junk, you can have it, it's like, great. You know what? The person that it means the most who gets it.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Yeah, when people are getting close to, or even if they're not even close to, just going through the process of thinking about it, it does bring up a lot of things that maybe to clear out the cobwebs. It's not only clearing out your stuff, but clearing out the cobwebs, because maybe there's some old trauma wounds that you've been hanging on to that it's like, you know what? You don't need to hang on to this anymore.
Well, it's also an interesting thought. Is there anything in your possession that you don't want your people to see after they're, cleaning up your stuff? So odd. Someone who had worked for my ex-husband had been in an accident and was killed. And so then they went through his desk and there was very inappropriate reading material that he had in his desk that they all went, who was this guy? Like, we thought we knew who he was. We did not know who he was.
Oh,
So, and I'm not saying anything that you might have that's inappropriate, but I know for me, my notes that I take from all of my meditations, I've got 15 notebooks right now. And I think if those got into the hands of somebody who didn't understand the spiritual journey that I'm on, they might be going, who was that woman? We don't even know who she was. And so I have thought at times, I think I should just throw these away, or I should put them in a safe deposit box or something if they're important for me to keep. So I've been trying to figure out what to do with my notes, because they're mine.
well, or, I've heard this about journals where people are, putting everything down. And it's like, okay, Ruth, if I go, you get over to my house and you burn those journals. But so maybe there's somebody that it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be gone, but there's so much richness that came out of my meditations that maybe there's something that can be passed on, some shared wisdom. Actually, one of the angel cards from this week, share your wisdom. So, and it's not that you don't share your wisdom, but what I'm saying is you were, on your journey, you're going through a process, and maybe going through that process would help somebody in the future. So that's when it's like, okay, you get to my house, don't let anybody else have anything to do with these, and you take them. And you make sure that the rest of your family knows these are off limits to you. They go to that person.
Right. Right. It's an interesting thought. Or some folks might have love letters from past boyfriends or something that they don't
Right.
want the husband to see. And it's like, okay,
Right.
then, maybe you need to get rid of it.
Or secrets, it's like, yeah, I had a child that I gave up for adoption that nobody in my family knows about, and I have the birth certificate and, whatever. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
there's all kinds of secrets, you see on TV shows. It's like, wow, they had that going on.
Right. Or if you just have to keep those love letters from the old boyfriend, give them to your girlfriend. Give them and have her hold on to them for you. You don't want to leave people with bad thoughts after you leave. There's no reason to do that. Just none. So Stephanie Stafford said, "Good afternoon, ladies. Trying to get my volume to work. I hope you got it working. I'm concerned about my son Tim, who passed away this past May of 2025. A person did not see Tim when they were pulling out of a petrol station and hit and killed my dear son. Just wonder about Tim that I miss dearly." Oh, Stephanie, I'm so sorry.
Oh, little Stephanie. I get the feeling though that he's doing pretty darn good. I think they do say, think about the people that we know. And Steph, I know one of the people I'm talking about, that things linger, things carry on. He does not strike me as someone that wanted things to linger. So let's see what we get, Miss Stephanie. And I do feel like he's with you so much more than you realize. I know you do every once in a while, it feels like, but he's with you more than you know. So Says, you are perfect. You are never alone. Says
Mm.
Stephanie. It's like, I feel like having those conversations, it's like when you live by yourself and you feel like you have conversations with people all the time out loud. It's like, there is nothing wrong with that because they are right there. So having these conversations, and if you're not doing that, maybe sit down and have a conversation, or pour an extra cup of coffee, or whatever. Sit down and have a conversation, because he's right there. I feel like it's almost like if you were walking and you stopped, he'd walk into you. That's how close it feels like he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go, Miss Steph.
So, Stephanie, what I saw was a bouquet of daffodils, and it was at the petrol station. And I think it's symbolic of like memorializing that spot. Sometimes when somebody passes somewhere, you see this huge bunch of bouquets and balloons and signs and all of that. And maybe in your heart of hearts, you envision that space as sort of the memorial of where it happened. But what he said was, I'm not there. Don't leave flowers there, even in your heart of hearts, because I'm not there. And as Sue was saying, because he's right there with you. And that's what I'm seeing. Yeah, very strongly. And when I'm likening life in the 3D to like an amusement park ride. And you do the ride and it's cool. And then it's over and you go, oh, okay, I guess that was that. Okay. And that's kind of how it feels with Tim. Like the ride was not nearly as long as he would have liked. He did not get to do everything he wanted to do. But at the end, it was kind of like, oh, okay. Okay.
It was short.
Yeah.
Remind us, Steph, was it his 60th birthday that was just right around the corner? So that's very young. Ruth and I know that's very young.
And it's getting younger.
It's getting younger all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So Jenny Lynn Berkey. All right. Good afternoon, ladies. I was real good friends with my boyfriend's ex-wife. She unexpectedly passed away. Her name was Donna. And I sure would love to hear from her. Good for you, Jenny. That's very mature. He obviously had good taste.
Yeah. It's almost like there was a lot of orchestrating, which is very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Mm-hmm. I can hear the chimes. I mean, you got your chimes and I got two sets going on. One inside and one outside, going like crazy. Notice the sense
Oh my gosh.
moments. Did you get that? Is that what you got?
Absolutely.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a plethora. So it feels like there might be a perfume, but it feels there's flowers, but there's also spices. I almost get there's like that feels strongest to me as the spices from cooking, or that maybe there was something that she just really liked and you could almost smell the spice on her. But it does feel like there's other things. So every once in a while, you might get a whiff of her perfume, or every once in a while, you might get a whiff of the flower that she enjoyed the most, or maybe a bouquet of flowers. But it's just, and I know when I get stuff like that, it's like I can't even take a full breath because the rest of the breath, I might not breathe it, if that makes any sense. But yes. So I think that's how she's around you, Miss Genuine.
You know, I got potpourri. I got Christmas potpourri before you pulled that card. But it was about the liking to do the little things that made life fun. You know, I mean, not everybody will go to the extent of getting Christmas potpourri, but she just seems like she enjoyed life and the fun little things you could do to make your space special and joyful. I get a lot of joy with her. She says she loved cooking, and Jenny Lynn bought her perfume that she tends to smell every now and then. Yeah, I'm getting she was absolutely with you at Christmas time. I mean, here we are, it's only January, but she was part of the festivities.
Yeah, it's like, the places that have the bags of pine cones that smell so good.
The cinnamon.
It's like that. Mhm.
Yeah. But it's an interesting concept that we're talking about today, that those that we love, that transition, really don't leave us.
No, they don't. It's it is so interesting because we look at ourselves as the 3D, but if you look at our soul is so much bigger than this 3D body, and they actually are now just the soul because their 3D body is of no use to them.
Yeah.
So you think about how big and expansive the soul is.
Well, and if the author of a book is coming to me, so I guess I'm supposed to bring it up. If you all don't know how folks who have passed come back in and share their presence with you, Ward Barkafer wrote a couple of beautiful books about his wife, Suzanne. It's been a while since I looked at them. But she passed, and then she would come back and do things in the morning or at night, like flick the lights on, or, things with electrical things. She seemed to do that a lot. And he really learned that that was her stepping back in his presence. So, what are some of the other ways that spirit will come back in and like try to get folks' attention?
E- Electrical is definitely one of those things because I think there's more effort in moving physical things, kind of like the movie Ghost.
Mm.
But also, I think so. I've used this analogy before. If you have a thought of a loved one, did you have the thought, or did they, run their hand over you to give you that thought? So I think that it's more energetic, and that's why I think like the aroma of things or animals, because I think animals are so much more open to spirit. So you might hear a bird or something, maybe all of a sudden your cat stops and looks at you. And and then it's like, Well, they never did that before, right when you were thinking of somebody and that they loved cats or so, So I think energetically there's things like that. I also think chimes really, because I think there's an energy to the wind. It's almost like if you go like this and you can't physically touch something, but when you go like that, there might be a breeze that the person feels, or it's enough to make the chime go. So I think there's the other thing that I see a lot is numbers. I just notice it's like, okay, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's my mom. Oh, that's my dad. And numbers in the most bizarre places. So pay attention. Be
And
present.
I see it coming through in nature as well. So my mother-in-law would come in the form of yellow butterflies. And the morning she passed, we all went over to my husband's, was not my husband yet, but went to his home. And there was a bush in the front yard. It had about 50 yellow butterflies in it. We don't get that here. That's just not a thing here. Some places there are, so she came in yellow butterflies. And about 3 weeks later, I was in my office and I was looking at some of her fabrics. And I looked, and there was a yellow butterfly outside my window. And I was on the second floor, and I was looking at that. And I go, "Hi, Mom." So she's yellow butterflies. My friend Cliff is dragonflies. My friend Jeannie is hummingbirds. So you just figure out who they are, and then be watching for them.
Yeah, my neighbor's husband, who passed away very similarly to Stephanie's son. Whenever she sees a Hummer, it's like, yep, there he is. Because, sometimes they'll come and they'll be right in your face almost, and there's no flowers around. They'll just be like,
Yep,
so,
or
yeah.
just hanging as like part of the group in the
Yeah.
conversation. It's like, "Hi,
Yep.
Jeannie."
And I swear they want to be noticed, because then you start talking to them and then it's like, they recognize me, they know I'm here, and then off they go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cardinals is another one that a lot of people associate with their loved one.
Yeah. The day that Linda Dirks passed, Terry Angel and I were driving across town, and there was outside my car window is this cardinal. We don't really get red cardinals here, but there was this cardinal and it was flying at like passenger height. So Terry looks out the window, she's going, "Look at that." And I looked over and this cardinal stayed with us for a few minutes and was like, "Okay, that's Linda Dirks right there."
Totally.
Because we don't get
Totally.
them.
I'm surprised you don't get them.
Yeah, we really
Maybe the
don't.
altitude, it's too much. Maybe it's the altitude. Because not the cold.
No, it's not the cold.
No, must be the altitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they come in so, and that's why being present. And that was I think, one of the other cards, the angel cards from yesterday for the week, is because if you're again going back to the time, the last little bit of time that you get to spend with a loved one that is getting ready to transition, if you're not worried about tomorrow or thinking of woulda, shoulda, coulda from yesterday, be present. You can be with them now. Spending that time together now.
And you don't have to be talking. You don't have to be entertaining.
Um,
It's just about being with them.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. But sometimes, have you ever had somebody that their eyes are closed, maybe they're sleeping, maybe they're in a coma, but you know that this was their favorite book, so maybe you're reading them little bits from the book, or, book of poetry, or talking to them about something that they really enjoyed, just so they have that, because the hearing is one of the last things to go, or maybe it's the last, I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's not the last, it's pretty close to it, but.
Well, in touch, just physical touch. I know as my cousin was dying, her sisters would put lotion on her hands and her feet and her legs, and just that physical touch of, we're right here with you. You're not going through this alone. We're right here.
And if their hands are under the blanket and you can't get to them, always, their forehead or the top of their head, or even touching their feet, whether they're under the covers or not. It's like, yes, that touch.
Yeah. Sue, you worked with hospice for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Any takeaways from that time?
It really was just being with them. It was interesting to me because, especially when I was doing vigil, so that's, they're anticipating, it's like the last 48 hours. And so we, as a volunteer, it would be for 4 hours, we would sit with a person. And sometimes it is all about being present, and that person is going to transition when they want. I'll give you two examples that say that. One was, there was a woman that she had, as far as I knew, she had no family, and she was in a coma. And I walked in the room, and honest to gosh, it wasn't 5 minutes later, she stopped breathing. So she wanted somebody there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it was me or, and it, that was her. She wanted somebody there. There was another one where, and this woman had been struggling. Oh my gosh, she scared the crap out of me. I was sitting there and just meditating, doing Reiki, whatever I was doing. And you could tell she was tossing and turning, and she's talking about going home. And all of a sudden she opens her eyes and looks at me, and she goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, I'm just sitting. And I said, as calm. I said, just being with you. Well, why are you here? Or so, I can't remember. It was like, just, so then I just very gently backed my chair up. But this woman, so I sat with her, because then she fell back asleep. And the other thing, they struggled to get I can't remember the medication, the stuff that they give them. Morphine. So they weren't able to do that, so she could have been in pain as well. But within a half hour after I left and the next person came, that's when she transitioned. So again, she was with the person that, whether she knew the person or not, their energy jive, whatever it was, and she wanted somebody there. Because otherwise she would have, left when nobody was there.
Well, you're also assuming she was talking to you.
Oh, I know yeah. Well,
She might not have been talking to you.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And what I mean by that, friends, is so often when somebody is passing, their loved ones who have already passed will show up and be there to help accompany them as they transition over. So when our friend Al was dying, we were with him, and he starts talking to Shirley and June. And I said to my girlfriend, I said, who's Shirley and who's June? Well, one was his mother, who had clearly passed because Al was 80 something. And June was his sister. And so they were there. And it was
Yeah.
interesting because they weren't real close in the physical. So it was interesting that they're the ones who showed up. And he wasn't trying to fight them.
Mhm.
You know, it was like, oh, what are you doing here? So it reminds me that I believe before we come into this 3D version of ourselves, we're with the soul group, we're going to be seen again in the 3D. And we decide who's going to play what roles as we go through and learn in this lifetime. And so he may not have been real close with Shirley and June while he was in this 3D life, but spiritually, he was very close because they're his group. They're his people.
Have you ever had someone that has said, I absolutely do not want to see that person?
I have not experienced that. Have you?
I have somebody I know that absolutely does not want a specific relative to be there. And my feeling is, you know what, it's gonna be who you want.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be, if you don't want them there, they ain't gonna show up.
Yeah.
And I think that there may be some people that are even distant relatives that may be standing a little bit further, I say, standing, that may be a little bit in the a little bit further back because they're, they're there to celebrate you coming home too, whether you know them or not.
Right. I
Yeah.
do believe it's a big homecoming
Mhm.
whenever any soul passes. Yeah. My father, shortly before he died, saw himself going down the tunnel and he was seeing pictures of, family and life experiences next to him. And they were cheering for him. Welcome back, Chuck. You did a great job. We missed you, Chuck, kind of thing. And he didn't want to come back. He was so comfortable being there with this cheering team. I do believe it's a big welcome home reception when anybody passes.
Yeah, I have heard that, if it's not their time, it's like, oh, but it feels so good. It's like, no, get back in your body.
Yeah, sorry, it's not your time. Yeah,
Like, oh, but it's gonna be such a long recovery. Too bad you signed up for it.
yeah. Yeah, my dad was bummed actually that he didn't get to stay. It wasn't for that long, it was only for about 18 hours, but he was kind of bummed.
Yeah, but yeah, the soul knows what still has to happen or not,
Right.
if you're ready.
Right. It was interesting, totally different topic, but in meditation the other day with Terry Angel, we were in the ethereal realm and we were both in a sparkly gown, but they were different, and Terry's looked more like her and mine looked more like me. And then we saw all of these other souls behind us, each in different kinds of sparkly gowns. And they were all very individualized. I mean, we could tell that. And there were these angels in front of us. And then they brought one of our soul sisters up behind us who is probably thinking she's more on her way out than, sticking around. And they brought her up between us, and she was in the beautiful gown. And they had us walk forward to the archangels and sort of present her. And the feeling I got was like, I really get the feeling she's going to be transitioning sooner than later. And they showed us many people that are getting ready to transition. And all of these souls behind us were feeling ready. Like, I am ready to go. I've been here, I've done my life, I've, made a good run, and now I'm ready to go. So it was interesting. So I wonder if we're going to be seeing, I would, mass exodus feels too dramatic of a term, but if we're not going to be seeing a number of people transitioning.
It's surprising because right now I know people that are getting ready, very close, and that have just recently passed. And that doesn't usually seem like it's my norm,
Yeah.
but it seems like it's happening more. And for somebody that says, "Oh, Sue, you're getting older," it's like, I don't think that's it either.
Yeah. Not just the demographics talking here.
No, I don't buy into that. But yeah, so I think it's probably accurate what you're saying and how it's gonna happen. Who knows? Because our soul knows. Our soul is in charge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of interesting times, I think.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think too that I I'll use my neighbor that just recently passed away as an example. I think that she now, and this is not consciously, but I think on her soul level, and maybe, yeah, I guess that's probably the best way to say it. When she fell, that was kind of an opportunity because things really went downhill from there. Even my neighbor on the other side that passed away a couple years ago, that's what started his transition. He fell.
Hmm.
And he took the shorter route though, a little bit shorter than she did, but not much. 2 months versus 4 months, not a long time. But I think, even just think of when you fall, there's a helplessness there. Where, because you have no control as you're going down. And then it's like, I mean, I remember one time this is in Wisconsin, so I was, 15 years younger. And I went down hard on my knee and I had to walk home trying to fight the tears. And it was, a little bit of blood running down but so of course you're limping too, but so there's a helplessness to falling. And then that recovery time, is it that you're recovering to get your strength back, or is it recovering to prepare you for the transition?
Mm, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's obviously it's different for everybody, but I think, you know, I think that that's also a time when people start thinking it's like, I'm not getting better as quickly as I used to. Or this is, wow, there's a surgery ahead. And then there's this ahead. And then it's like rehab, all of that. And it's like, boy, I just don't know if I have the strength this time.
Yeah.
So it is kind of preparing the recovery time is just very different than what we anticipate it might be.
Well, and when you realize the only thing I'm doing right now is healthcare, it's like, oh, my life has taken a turn.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you're in a rehab center and it's like, okay, because even then again, no control, you know, here's when you're getting your meals, here's when you're taking your meds, If you need help getting out of the bathroom,
Right.
you gotta ask for help.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Getting back to that meditation that Terry and I did, one of the messages to it was to live your life while you're still here in the 3D with no regrets.
Mhm.
And if that means the things that you do or how you spend your time needs to shift and change, or the conversations that you need to have needs to shift, live your life with no regrets.
Mhm. Yeah. And your chimes agree.
They do.
It
Yeah.
is. It's like live it each day to the fullest. Enjoy the sunshine.
Right. Right. Beautiful. Well, Sue, is there anything else that you'd like to share today?
No, I think that's really a good ending.
All right. Thank you, friends, for being here with us at Enlightened World Network. We do this Messages from Your Loved Ones the second Monday of every month, so we hope that you'll come back and join us again. If you'd like to learn more about Sue Broome, please check her out on Facebook. She's got a couple books out there. She's got 1,000,000 journals out there. Not 1,000,000, but many, many journals out there, card decks, etc. So please do check her out. So thank you, friends, for being here.